going live. We're going live. All right, welcome in. It is Tuesday. It is $5 Tuesday at WagerTalk, so make sure you're checking all of our pages for a $5 play. It looks like, hope we're live. Yeah, no, that red light says we're live. I don't know why it's taking so long to load up, but hey, sometimes you're slow on a morning. It's like 4 degrees here, so I understand. But it looks like okay, there we go. It looks like people are coming into the chat. Before we get into it, I want to point out that we kind of started Tuesday's show yesterday. So because it was such a small slate yesterday, we've already broken down Florida and UConn. So if you missed that, not only is it up as part of yesterday's show, but it's also we've clipped it and we have it as a standalone video. So you can go to the WagerTalk YouTube page. You can look at my Twitter. You can look at Brian's Twitter. But we've already did the full feature breakdown for Florida and UConn. Now, if either of the guys want to throw that in the parlay, that's fine. I'm not going to. But we're not going to break that game down on this show because we did it yesterday to leave more time for the games on Tuesday. Brian, go ahead. Tell them where else they can watch Florida UConn today.
Yeah, well, I believe you can watch it on, is it FS1 or ESPN? Who cares about that? Where you can hear another breakdown, though, is me on WagerTalk today, noon Eastern, with Andy Lang. I'm going to, offer different breakdowns. So check in, make sure you like, subscribe. If you subscribe, not only are you instantly notified when this show goes live, you'll be instantly notified when that show, WagerTalk Today, goes live in 2 hours. Just to follow up on yesterday's discussion of Florida and UConn, Trigg and Rob, we said we thought UConn would take money at 4.5. They have, in fact, taken money. I'm seeing 5.5s now pop on the odds screen as we speak. So I guess we've already said one correct thing in that breakdown. Hopefully the game kind of plays out the way we thought it would as well.
All right, let's bring Rob in here. So again, we did that yesterday just to make more room for a bigger slate today. So let's make the feature game. I'm partial to conference play. I get sick of these non-conference games come December. I'm ready for some conference play. So let's go to the Big Ten because we've got conference action in the Big Ten tonight. Ohio State, Illinois. Rob, kick us off. How are you seeing this one?
Well, obviously, guys, this is a tremendous game. Just start with the matchups here. And if you go head-to-head, it can't get any better than Kylan Boswell against Bruce Thornton. It can't get any better than Tomislav Isavic, the big center for Illinois, against Christopher Tilley, the ex-Santa Clara center, who actually was a little bit questionable on Saturday, but did play some minutes against Northwestern. Merkovich against Noel. All up and down the line, guys. The starting 5 matchup really, really close. I don't know that you can find any separation in there. I think where I find the separation is on the bench. I really like the 6 and 7 off the Illinois bench now that they're healthy with Big Z, the other Ivasic, and also Ben Humrickhouse, guys who are veteran, guys who can score, guys who can defend. I think they've got a little bit of an edge there. The Ohio State advantage, obviously, is the home floor for their season home opener. They did play Northwestern as a Big Ten opener, but that was on the road. Got that victory, as I mentioned, with Tilley playing some limited minutes. But schedule-wise, the advantage in scheduling has to go to Illinois. They have been through the rigors, and they've been through it with injuries, right? They've finally come around to being fully healthy, but they went through some very, very tough games. Texas Tech, Alabama, UConn, Tennessee. You can't get a better 4 than that to play. So they're ready for Ohio State. Ohio State has not really done the same, guys, and I wonder, they've got some very, very gaudy offensive statistics. Number 1 in the country in 2-point percentage. But you have to wonder if the schedule hasn't helped and contributed to that. I mean, they've played Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, and Northwestern. That's the best of the best that they've faced so far. Otherwise, not much. And they haven't played real potent offenses like the Illinois one. IU Indy scored 102 against them. Come back, give up 82 to Northwestern. So when they play teams that can score, it hasn't been great defensively. That's where I kind of tried to separate this game from a total perspective. And let me just go back here where total is concerned and say this. This total started at 155. If you go through Illinois' games, you're going to find out that Illinois is an under team all season long, right? 7-2 to the under. But They were 6-3 over this number of 155 where the game opened. Thus, we see a push to 160. I think the money was right. Illinois has been playing games over 155. And now at this current number, the Illini as a team, 5-3-1 over the number. It's hard to see anything, guys, other than an up and down offensive game. However, you put it into context, conference basketball. I tend to think this is just general theory on my part. Early season, conference games, a little more wide open. We get to late January, early February, mid-February, everything tightens up defensively. I took a look at the Ohio State team total. It was 79.5. Potentially they could get over that. I looked at the full game total because I don't know if I trust Ohio State's defense against this offense. Didn't come up with anything either way. I think Illinois is the better team in quick summary. I think they're the better team. Not sure that I would lay it. This total probably lands somewhere around where it's posted right now. It was 168 in the Ohio State Northwestern game, 86-82. Could get free throws down the stretch, etc. But, man, what a matchup, guys. I mean, player for player, and I won't go through all the accolades for these guys so far this season, but there are some very, very highly rated statistical numbers on both sides of this matchup.
I'm conflicted. I think Rob makes a lot of good points. But my power ratings say that perhaps we should be considering the home dog, which I often, in matchups such as this in conference play, often gravitate towards anyway. Market, though, doesn't seem to agree with that. We're seeing some money's coming on Illinois early. And generally speaking, though nothing is 100% in life, when the market in these competitive matchups, Trigg and Rob, has made a decision, it's often been right this season so far. At least it feels that way. I do not have any numbers to back me up here on that, but it feels like these games we talk about, like, wow, the market really likes the favorite, and then the favorite covers every number. Ohio State should be undefeated coming into this game. Their only loss was to Pitt, and they threw that one away late. But Rob made a good point, the salient point. Illinois has played the tougher schedule overall. They're 2-2 against playing four non-conference ranked non-conference opponents. Let me spit that out. They go 2-2 straight up. I think Ohio State is a borderline top 25 team right now. So I have again, power ratings wise, I had a slight lean towards the dog, although I don't feel great about it. I do, because I would concur with Mr. Veno that Illinois is the better team here. I mean, Illinois obviously is a top 15 team in the power ratings.
Yeah, I don't think these two teams are that close in terms of, like, I think Illinois is far superior. I kind of wish, like, if I'll backtrack a little bit. Like, Ohio State was impressive over the weekend. That was a good win for them at Northwestern. They kind of they did impress me in that game. Had I not seen that, I would have probably been like, oh, Illinois -3 is a layup. But what puts me off of wanting to lay 3 on the road with Illinois here a little bit is the spot. So Illinois went to Nashville this weekend. And part of the reason I didn't play Illinois this weekend in Nashville against Tennessee was I said, okay, well, Tennessee's lost back-to-back games. Maybe Illinois might be looking ahead a little bit to this game. They clearly weren't. They dominated that game against Tennessee, won by 13. Now I'm like, okay, maybe they're looking a little bit to the weekend. Nebraska is ranked, so that's going to be another league game for Illinois, which they host this weekend. They host Nebraska in a Big Ten game this weekend, so maybe Illinois doesn't get their full attention, which they definitely deserve as Ohio State, as Ohio State has played better. Ultimately, I'll go to the total. I feel like I can, after Kansas State scored 1 trillion points yesterday, I can throw my opinion on totals out a little bit. I think Illinois will hit their team total over, because I don't know that Ohio State can really stop them in what they want to do offensively. I don't know that Ohio State's got the answer to be able to just get stop after stop to Illinois to keep them off of their team total. I think if Ohio State wants to cover or win this game, they're going to have to kind of do what Rob said and score some points. It's why that total is massive, up over 160s. It's a big number. So I don't know if I want to go full game total and worry about one of them not getting it. But to me, I don't know that Ohio State gets enough stops to not have Illinois hit their team total over. So that's the way I would play this one.
Yeah, and I would say real quick, Adam, just to add to what you said, I bet Northwestern on Saturday, and I lost because Ohio State was that good. But I'll just reiterate, I don't know what their defense really is at this point in time. I know Illinois is a superior offense. And I'll look to your opinion on this, Adam. It's my opinion that so far this year, and it's been against lesser competition than Illinois, Christopher Tilley was a dominant center at Santa Clara. I don't see the same dominance here in the Big Ten so far. The one good thing about him is he's getting to the free throw line a ton, and he's like an 80+% free throw shooter. But here he's going to be matched with 7-footers that I don't know he's going to be that big of a difference maker here. So on paper, like I said early, these 5-on-5 matchups, these man-to-man matchups to start the game look really, really nice. But there's some spots where I could see Illinois taking advantage as well. I don't know that Thornton's that good of a defensive guard. I don't know that Tilley's been that great in the Big Ten. We're going to find out, though. We'll see tonight. But on Tilley, I don't know. Do you see any difference in him? He's a big fish in a little fish in a big pond now, really.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be enough rim resistance from him and from Ohio State to keep Illinois off of the scoreboard to the extent that you would need to not have them hit the team total. So yeah, I think Illinois is going to score here. Sorry, Brian, were you going to add something there?
Yeah, they keep taking money. The number is up to 5 now. It's some sharper places on the Illini, so they continue to take money. I mean, again, the market seems to have. I don't know. We talk about that lines move a lot while we're doing the show live. Sometimes it's a trick. Sometimes it's the real deal. But as of right now, the market seems to have made its decision. I don't know. If this got a lot. I don't know. I'll get when there's a discrepancy here of several points in my power rating. So I don't know. You guys made a lot of great points. And like I said, I agree with you that Illinois is the better team. So I'll have to just dig into that a little bit more, I guess. But if it keeps going up, we say this a lot. I may have to make a decision just based on the number and take Ohio State.
Rob, it's a very interesting point, though. It's very similar, like we talked about Xavier Lee yesterday, like guys that play, they've had success at the mid-major level, and now they sort of get thrust into a big role in a power conference. And it's a case-by-case basis. Sometimes you see a guy just blow up and thrive, and they're incredible. Sometimes they're outclassed, and it's absolutely something that you should have your eye on as the season goes on. Because now we're starting to get a sample for some of the guys in year one. That's why I tend to like guys in year 2 after they move up. Like those are the guys I circle back with and say, oh, this roster has some year 2 guys, second year at their big program. Because year 1 can be tough. It's an adjustment, especially when you get to conference play. And now every game is against Ohio State, big schools, big that have size and athleticism. I'll touch on this one quick, and then we'll probably go to one of the other big ones. But we have a question here about Columbia, and Win Money asked if I had to squint and get close to my screen to just read that. Need contacts. I've never worn contacts before. My eyes don't like them. So, and I'm not going to come on here with glasses. So if you see me squinting, I'm trying to read comments. But wants to talk about Columbia and Stony Brook. Yeah, Brian. That'll be me. That's me looking at the screen. Columbia, Stony Brook. This one is out on Long Island. Stony Brook way up the island. It's out I think Suffolk County out there. Columbia is going to head up there from the city tonight. He wants to know if Columbia covers. I don't see any good reason why they wouldn't. This got bet up from 3 to 4.5. Columbia, very reminiscent of last year, where they just blasted everyone they played in the non-conference. We'll see if they get – and then they got into Ivy competition without Rubio De La Rosa and Tank. They were the worst team in the Ivy after going 10-1 or 11-1 non-conference. Their only loss of the season, Brian Power, is to UConn. They have crushed everyone else in this sort of – we use the term weight class on this show. New Haven, UMass Lowell, BU, Lehigh, Longwood, Fairfield. Hofstra, they got a close win, but that's a good win for them. Hofstra's playing up a little bit. And then over the weekend, buried Albany. I don't like this Stony Brook team. I've talked about it a couple times on the show. I could only lay it with the Lions here. Anyone have anything on Columbia Stony Brook?
I agree. I was interested to hear your take on that, Trigg, because I was kind of leaning Columbia's way too. Interesting game. I mean, these two teams combined have been a couple real cash cows. They're 13-2-1 against the numbers. So if you've been betting either of these two teams, you've been making money. But I look at the Stony Brook side here, guys. They've covered 3 in a row as underdogs, winning outright twice against Bethune-Cookman and Loyola Marymount. They lost to Duquesne last time out covered, but 4 covers in a row as a dog. Rob, I don't think so. I think the run ends for Stony Brook.
I have a question for Rob, and Rob, this Columbia's coach is one of the Florida assistants. His name is escaping me. But ever since Bedry, one of their bigs, went down after the Lehigh game, back in mid-November, and it almost seems like they play they play the style. I think it's Havda, Kevin.
Yeah,
I can't pronounce his name. Horrible with names. But the point is, I think people might look at that injury and say, oh, well, they're missing he's a 12th, a double digit a game scorer. But they've almost arguably been better the 5 games without him. I mean, I caught some of the Albany game over the weekend, just trashed Albany. Nothing I like to see more as a Siena guy than Albany just getting their teeth kicked in. But hey, I mean, this Columbia team, they're really impressive. And I have the feeling that Havda might have them competitive in the Ivy as early as this year.
Well, I'm going to go to the other side of this game, guys, and just talk total real quick. 75.5 is in Columbia's wheelhouse for a team total. And you watched the Albany game, Adam. I've said before, I was in Connecticut for Thanksgiving with family, and on that Wednesday, they played Fairfield. We talked about it. I watched that Fairfield game. And they ran off 106 points, rattled off 106 points in that game like it was nothing. Columbia is not extremely fast tempo-wise, but, man, they make shots. And I don't, when you go through Stony Brook's results, you'll find out that even though Gino Ford has a history of playing slow, they've given up 80+ to teams that have that capability. And I saw this 75.5, and this could end up being my leg of the teaser here because I bet it personally myself early this morning. But 75.5 just seems way, way too low for a team that has 80+ written all over them every time they take the floor in the gym, win or lose. Because if they're playing a better team, they'll probably give up the points. But it just looks to me like they're always going to score. So 75.5 just seemed like a very, very low number. Maybe attributed a lot to the style of play of Stony Brook. That's why the total is full game where it is.
Well, Rob, that makes a lot of sense too, because you take you take the 6'10" Zine Edine Bedry off the floor, and suddenly Columbia's quicker. They handle the ball better. So it's even though he's the type of guy, it's a little bit reminiscent of Colgate the last couple of years when they had Jeff Woodward, who is 7 feet tall. And it's that's the type of guy you have to have him on your, I mean, if you can get a guy like that and you play in the Patriot League, having that guy is going to win you so many league games, right? Same thing as the Ivy. You can throw a 6'10" guy that can just be bigger than a lot of the other teams in your league. It's going to win you some games, but they've been much more impressive since he hasn't been on the floor. And I think it's just allowing, Columbia to play maybe the way that they're meant to play with this group, with this coaching staff, with this style. So I couldn't argue with, I think you have a good bet there, Rob.
And I always like that because, Trigg, you and I don't really like to lay points on the road. I know I did. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I know that I generally don't like to do that. So the team total over might be a more appealing way for those of you who feel similarly. And by the way, see a lot of new people in the chat, a lot of new members.
Oh, nice.
Thank you very much for tuning in here to Full Court Press. Reminder, we are live every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. I saw Bayou is in the chat, and boy, did he, I was wondering if anyone else thought the same way on that USC San Diego game. And
kick us off.
And he apparently does because, oh, yeah, Jenny Craig herself will be in attendance. I don't know if that's true, but look, Trigg,
he donates a lot to that school.
Yeah. You and I tried with San Diego on Friday night. That was not good, for lack of a better word.
No.
USC off its first loss, though, going to the Jenny Craig Pavilion. This would be Torero's or pass for me. I looked. I mean, I really want to, but I thought we had a strong case on Friday with them, and boy, did they come out and play like, for lack of a better term, absolute ass. So I don't know. Are they just a bad team? I mean, because it seems like they're, first loss for USC. It seems like there's kind of the inevitable letdown. I don't know. It's dog or pass.
They take horrible, like they have these lapses offensively. So the thing is, it's like they have some good players. Like I was intrigued with their roster. Like they have some decent players, but they have now had a couple of games where they just they go into Jalen Hurts mode. They just start throwing it to the other team, right? They go completely brain dead offensively. Some of the shots in that game against San Jose State were so bad, like just literal clueless 30-second possessions that ended in a heave. Like not even like it's late in a shot clock, let's get a jumper. It was like we got to heave it up because we took 30 seconds and somehow managed to get 40 feet away from the hoop. It was awful. And they did the same thing in the second half against Cal Baptist. And I'm just starting to think like they're just not a team I want any part of, because they have some individual talent where it's like, they theoretically, like they should be better than what we saw on Friday. And you go back to the Cal Baptist game, they had a 9-point lead in that game before they went brain dead. So they clearly know what they're doing a little bit, but yeah, I after watching them a couple times, like, and really like, I don't know if I could back them again. It's tough. And of course here they'll cover tonight because I said that I won't be on them. And then they'll probably come out and push USC to the brink somehow at the Jenny Craig Pavilion.
A phenomenal facility, by the way. As nice as a facility as you'll find in college basketball.
I do think, Rob, like this is like one of a couple games where it's kind of like a weird spot. Like it's a national TV game for USC where they're like going on the road. It's like definitely should be a tough environment. You have to think that if San Diego kids were going to leave the beach and come to one game this year, it'd probably be USC on their home floor. Like, what do you make of that? Like, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, and the first thing was to just see if Rodney Rice is going to play tonight, guys. He's questionable. He's missed the last 3. It hasn't totally affected USC offensively. This has been a high-scoring team all season long. And if San Diego is going to be close, they're going to have to score 2. Because it's interesting when you go through tempo numbers of Steve Lavin, who has played at breakneck pace with this team the last couple of years. He's tried to slow them down somewhat this year, and the defense has gotten worse. Their adjusted defensive numbers are worse than they've been in the last 3 years. You have to expect USC. Of course, I'm always drawn to totals. My first option was, let me just see, USC's off a loss. Let's go to their team total. The team total here as we speak, guys, is 86.5, up to 87 now, even 87.5. So it's taking money on the USC side. I can understand it. I don't know if that concurs with maybe somebody knowing that Rice is going to be in the lineup or not. But like I say, they still have scored 80 plus in 2 of the 3 where he hasn't been present. One was against Arizona State, Bobby Hurley's team, not necessarily rapid paced, but they can go quick too. I just think Musselman's got a really good offensive team this year. I don't know. He's kind of defensive minded, but it seems like he's got the opposite in way of talent. Whether San Diego covers or not, I just think it's going to be a high scoring game.
I can't disagree with you there either. That San Diego defense also on Friday was abysmal, just abysmal.
Wasn't a good 40 minutes.
Any shot they wanted.
Wasn't a good 40 minutes.
I'll point out one other thing with San Diego. Like even the fact that they had a 9-point lead against Cal Baptist is a little bit flawed, because that was the game Dominique Daniels got in trouble for something that we don't know what he did, but he just didn't play. He was a late scratch right before that game. I believe some discipline. I think he broke a team rule or something like along those lines. And Dominique Daniels, you take him off Cal Baptist, that's a totally different team. So you almost have to like discredit them even. And of course, they ended up losing the game by 15. Like, so it's not even like they had a good result. They just had a good result for like 30 minutes. Yeah, it's going to, glad Bayou brought that one up because I looked at the schedule. I said, wait a minute, San Diego's on national TV with a home game against USC. Definitely interesting. Don't know if I could get involved. All right, this one people want to talk about because it's going to be it's a standalone game. Rothstein will have the standalone tweet out at some point today with UMBC in Buffalo playing a 5 p.m. tip, the only, I believe, 5 p.m. tip on the slate today. And there's like quite a few people in the chat asking about it. So I'll kick this one off and just say, like, Brian, I you and I kind of like maybe talked down to the Buffalo Bulls a little bit earlier this year. I believe we kind of both pointed out, like, we may have even gone as far as to use the term fraud, which may have been a little harsh. I think they've been pretty good to this point, but they and you know what? I watched a lot of their game against St. Bonaventure over the weekend, and they were good. Like, I thought they played well in that game. They ended up not covering, but it was a hard fought loss. They've got to go down to Baltimore today to play UMBC, a team that I think is scrappy as an underdog. Do you think Buffalo is in a tough spot on the road here? 5 p.m. tip.
Yeah, I think UMBC's live here. I'm still not convinced. But look, the number of unbeatens has dwindled precipitously over the last week, and I was at no point, even though Buffalo proved us wrong that one game against Wright State where they absolutely went berserk in the second half, Trigg. At no point did I not think that Buffalo is still the weakest unbeaten team left in college basketball. We talked about with USC coming off its first loss. How do they respond? They're taking on a San Diego team that, obviously hasn't played well 2 of the last 3 games. And so there was some back and forth there. Here, I think UMBC's live to win this game. I would actually consider just playing UMBC on the money line, which it looks like, quite frankly, is a bet that our chat hates. And disagrees. So I guess that's not going to go over well. I've seen a lot of I like Buffalo in this game. I apologize, guys. I would go the other way with UMBC. I think Buffalo nowhere near as good as its record.
Yeah, the other thing. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
I'll just
go ahead.
One matchup here fundamentally that could decide a game that's priced in this price range. Buffalo 3-point shooting has been outstanding this year. UMBC 3-point defense has been miserable. I also find it, I just talked about Steve Lavin slowing things down. Just a quick look at Jim Ferry's tenure here at UMBC, and he has slowed this team down considerably. I'm so used to watching UMBC as an up and down paced team, but not necessarily the case here this year. Buffalo statistically the better shooting team, but you have to be impressed. I will say this, the Georgetown and Dayton results for Maryland, Baltimore County are pretty impressive. Not that Dayton's, Anthony Grant, prime type of team, but still Georgetown's really good this year. They played them close. Dayton, they played them close here at home. It's hard for me to pick the side here, but I do think if it comes down to 3-point shift, Buffalo going on the road and making shots is always one of the biggest things that you can't handicap. Very, very difficult to handicap. But if it holds true to form, Buffalo would probably win this game.
Yeah, I'm so tempted to just take the 2.5. So I'll be honest, like, this is going to be a play. This is going to be my parlay leg. Just the chat's going to be pissed. I make UMBC a 2.5-point favorite here.
So I was just double checking. Yeah, I got him as a slight favorite too. Not quite 2.5, but 1.5.
So I make him 2.5. I guess I wanted to see like what the market was going to do on this one a little bit, and what I thought they were going to do happened. I thought Buffalo, so it got bet down a little bit. I said, okay, like Buffalo's probably going to take some money. They come off the loss to St. Bonaventure where they looked impressive, but this is like, so 2 things. UMBC recently got one of their bigs back. So Josh Oduono did not play for a few games. He's now back. I mean, since he's returned, it's pretty much a 10+ point per game scorer each game since he's been back. They still have like Ace Valentine's should be filling it up. I'm surprised he's not averaging double figures. I feel like he should be like an easy double-digit scorer for this team. I like this team as an underdog. Brian, we were out on the road, and I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they hang with Dayton today when we were sort of driving around going to games, and they did. They lost that game by 6. They hung around with Georgetown. Where this team is where I don't like UMBC is when they're laying points as a big favorite, because I feel like they'll give up points and they get backdoored often and stuff like that. But now that you're catching a key number of 2.5, because this one was 2 when we got on air and it even went down to 1.5. Now that it's 2.5, I'm going to take UMBC. So I'm going to add that for clients. That's going to be a 3%er for me. And that will also be my parlay leg. So I was optimistic, hoping for 3. It doesn't look like it's going to get to 3. So I'm going to take the 2.5. That'll be parlay leg for Trigg. And
by the way, I got confused earlier. I got Buffalo and Butler, undefeated, then undefeated, overrated teams confused when I mentioned a Wright State result. That was Butler that played Wright State, not Buffalo. But the point still stands. I don't have Buffalo in my top 225 teams in the country.
The one other thing I wrote about the other day on that I was going to start to look maybe lean into spots a little bit more. It's no secret. I have not had the best start to college basketball season. I did go 2-0 the other day and think I'm going in the right direction. Hopefully. I mean, it's only one day, but what I wrote about was I want to start. I think I've been trusting some of my projections and my models a little too much relative to my number as to what I make it. I want to lean into spots a little bit more. This is a bad spot for Buffalo. They just had that Bonnie's game was a home game. That was a big, big game for them. Yes. They put a lot of effort into that game. So to have to turn around and go midweek road game at UMBC in Baltimore, it's going to kind of be dead. They never get a great crowd there. It's just a bad spot for Buffalo. And then to be laying a bucket in a game that I think UMBC should be favored. So yeah, I'm going to bet this one. UMBC plus 2.5. Let's go to one of the bigger games. We were going to make Clemson BYU sort of like a double feature. So as I fire this one in, Brian, kick us off. Clemson BYU back to the Garden. Like we said yesterday, we did the game yesterday, the Florida UConn game we did on yesterday's show. Go to Brian Powers' Twitter because he's got it nicely posted there if you want to see the full breakdown of that game. The one before it, Jimmy V Classic, Madison Square Garden, Clemson BYU. Brian Power, are you playing this game at the Garden tonight?
I don't think I will. The question is Clemson defensively. Their 2 losses this year, they gave up 1.13 points per possession, 1.25 points per possession. That's not good. I don't think it's breaking news here to inform all of you watching the program. BYU, pretty good offensive team. Interesting. As I was kind of handicapping the game for the show, a weird kind of sidebar thought that's not applicable to this game came to mind. BYU isn't particularly deep. I don't think that's going to matter in the regular play. And maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself and just talking out of my ass, but is BYU maybe a lack of depth? Is this a team that you would potentially think about fading in the second game in the second game of a weekend in the NCAA tournament? Do you guys have any thoughts on look, the 5-star, they had 4 starters were averaging in double figures. 5 guys were in double figures last time. All 5 starters were double figures last time up. But I wanted to throw that to you guys because that was just the kind of something I got hung up on when breaking down this game. BYU, not a very talented team, a team that can score, but not the deepest team, Rob. I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah. After handicapping the tournament for so many years, Brian, I came to find out that depth is meaningless because of the 16-minute timeout, 12-minute timeout, 8-minute timeout, 4-minute timeout. It's meaningless unless there's foul trouble. Depth comes into play with foul trouble. If you got to pull somebody, say if DeBansta gets into trouble, foul trouble, first half, 2 in the first 8 minutes, you got to pull him, put him on the bench. Then it's a big deal. If Cada gets into foul trouble for BYU, it's a big deal. So that's what you worry about. That's impossible to handicap how the ref is going to blow the whistles. So I just, because there's so much time in between in these 4-minute intervals where they call timeout, it's almost like a rest period for these guys. If they stay on the floor, depth has no bearing. if they're in foul trouble and the coach has to sit them for 6-7 minutes because they can't trust to put them back in. And Keita's probably the best example of this, right? For BYU, such an active big that you could almost see that happening against a Clemson team that's pretty rugged. So that's just my take on it, Brian. That's how I look at it.
Something that's interesting, was it the Wisconsin game that Debansta got into foul trouble? And I remember thinking, oh, this could come apart. I think it was, right? I remember watching. I'm almost positive it was the Wisconsin game. And then Wisconsin kind of went on a run. I'm like, uh-oh, BYU's in trouble. And then BYU just blew them out of the water. I was very, very impressed with that. So I don't know.
Talent
I don't know
gap.
if you have any. I don't know if you have any thoughts about the depth issue or lack of it or what have you. But we probably should tell people about this game, I guess, rather than me hijacking the conversation.
No, I mean, listen, the Clemson's going to press BYU here. So that's certainly, it's certainly like something relevant to the conversation. I guess my overwhelming thought about this game is it doesn't really matter what Clemson does here because they just don't have the athletes to hang with BYU. And as long as BYU's not just like turning the ball over 15 to 20 times because they're trying to, because Clemson will pick up full court and they'll try to stop transition. They're going to try to basically press them and then hope that they can't break the press or they just break it and get into a half court offense. Problem is like the individual talent for BYU probably wins out. Like as long it would probably take 20 turnovers for Clemson to win this game where they're just like forcing BYU into like mistake after mistake. But like I think we've seen enough of BYU against good opponents at this point where like that's probably not going to happen. And then you get these BYU just individual freak shows up against like Clemson in a half court situation or where they can just sort of create or like, do something one-on-one. I don't know that Clemson can stop that. So like I love Brad Brownell. I've said this for years. I think he's year in and year out the most underrated coach in the ACC or one of them. But I don't know that he has the personnel to stop BYU from just blowing his doors off right here. So it's an interesting game, not one I'm going to have any part of.
Yeah. Just to note, because it seems like there may be some people in the chat may not be aware. This game is being played at MSG. It's not a home game for BYU. I saw somebody say, BYU at all. But BYU is obviously this is not their first rodeo out on the East Coast in a neutral venue, having played UConn in Boston.
Yeah, that's probably as big a point as anything is that was Debansta's first real spotlight type game. And that's the game, guys, where UConn pretty much had them wired and BYU made that furious comeback at the end of that game to make it into a 2-point game. I would say this again, I'll speak from Total's perspective with the propensity of Clemson to, pick up full court, 3/4 court. Robert Wright is a guard who's been around the block more than enough, played in enough of these games to where, as Adam said, 20 turnovers, it's just not likely. These are guys that thrive on that type of pace. BYU's team total, you can find that as low as 77.5. I mean, if you're going to get these added possessions and you're going to get this quickness type of game, the only thing that would stop me is if BYU breaks a press and pulls it back out. But I just don't see them as a team that pulls it back out. And one of the overlooked guys on this team, Richie Saunders, he can shoot over top of any zone that Brownell might try to mix in this game. So BYU's going to score theirs. Full game total might be just as good as just the basic BYU team total. But in some way, shape, or form, I think over is the right way here.
Yeah, as the days go by, I'm less and less inclined to bet against BYU. I said this at the beginning of the season. I think they're just going to continue to get better and better. And like as they get games under their belt, especially games that matter, I'm going to be less inclined to go against them. I think they're really good. Go ahead, BP.
One interesting stat about Clemson teams have not been hitting free throws against against BYU. Against BYU, I apologize. I had the wrong thing open there. Teams have shot so far from the free throw line against BYU just 61.6%. That's the second lowest percentage in the country. I think that's something to monitor, is that just, it's a still small sample size. You have to think moving forward, teams are going to hit more free throws against them. So that's an area. And it speaks to, Rob's point possibly about the over, because you look at Clemson, what they shoot from the free throw line, they're close to 75% inside the top 100 in the country. Teams could be making up some points at the charity stripe against the Cougars moving forward.
And I'll just go real quick here, guys, just to throw some comps at you for those who might be interested in the total here. Clemson's played Alabama, faster and one of the fastest tempo teams in the nation, right? But still up tempo, 174 the game lands on. Georgia, up tempo, went overtime, but regulation was 160. This game is lined at 151, so BYU fits in that category. Trigg's muted.
Still muted, Trigg.
Trigg's still muted.
Wow.
Love to hear what you said.
I would love to not have to say it again. But what I was saying was I was thanking Garth for the donation, and I was shamelessly plugging the channel, the fact that this shows up on replay, the fact that comments, likes, subscribes to the channel go a long way. So we really appreciate that. It helps a ton. And we a lot of the same guys in here every day, which we very much appreciate the interaction with you guys. Great stuff in the chat, by the way. Very intelligent chat that we have on this show. Keeps us on our toes as well. Garth, we did a deep dive into this game earlier in the show, Columbia Stony Brook. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to give Rob the floor, because he said he may use this as a parlay leg. If he doesn't, I'm going to ask him for his parlay leg. So it's over to you, Rob. And I'll give you a second to gather your thoughts. But Garth, we broke this game down in detail. So just rewind the show or check it out on demand. But the three of us weighed in on this game. And so I'm going to go to Rob. He can either use this game or use whatever game he wants. We'll see if he's ready to give his parlay league.
Yeah. Again, I've got a lot of options today, guys. But I'll go ahead and use it, guys, because it's as good as – I don't have a massive difference in the games that I'm going to play here today. I like a lot of games quite a bit. This one, though, since it was the first one that I bet today, why not use it as the best bet on the show? For me, Garth, I bet Columbia's team total up and over 75.5. This number seemed to be in a and I'm going to just make sure we get the correct number.
Yeah. What's the number now is the question.
Yeah. 75.5 is still out there, Adam, almost universally. We have to say things like that universally, right? Guys, we'll forget that every single day, universally. But my biggest point, and maybe I was influenced by one performance, but over the Thanksgiving holiday, as I said earlier in the breakdown, I watched them play Fairfield, who's not they're in Stony Brook's weight class. That's another one of our favorite terms here. And the 106 they put on Fairfield looked effortless. Honestly, it looked effortless. This is such a good shooting team, such an efficient scoring team. That to me, and Stony Brook, the other angle of this, of course, if you're going to play a team total, you need to be able to at least have the amount of possessions that you need to get there. And you have to have a defense that is attackable enough to get there. And Stony Brook, in multiple situations this year, has given up 80 plus. And so the comparable part of all those teams that they gave up 80 plus to, are they like Columbia? Is Columbia better than them? I come up with the answer, yes. So for me, it's a team total with the Columbia side. I just thought this should have been a little higher. Seems like we're getting about 3.5 to 4 points of wiggle room here. So give me Columbia team total, parlay leg up and over 75.5.
I got an idea. Since Rob and I have both used client plays for the parlay, we're going to pressure Brian Power into giving a client play out to close the parlay out. How do you think?
Oh, well, I already have my thing set, though. I already have.
All right. Well, you can.
Here's the thing, because I actually have it up for. You're going to get the look. Here's the deal. My client play is going to be $5 anyway. So and I'll put it up.
All right. We won't do. I forgot it was
I
apologize.
Yeah, it's going to be up for $5. I'm going to have one play up for $5. So you can get here's the thing. I'm going to give you one for free here on the show, and then I'm going to have a client play up for $5. So I'm not going to ask for much. I already put it. I don't want to. But here we go. We don't want to take the ass end of a line, Rob, but I'm going to take the ass end of a line, and I'm going to go with an under on Dartmouth, Colorado State. This is, as you guys know, I'm not afraid to catch a falling knife, jump in front of a train, put my hand on the stove. Colorado State cannot possibly continue to shoot the three-pointer as well as they have been. Number one in the country right now are the Rams. Number one in effective field goal percentage. The Golden State Warriors in their heyday, Rob, did not shoot the three as well as the Colorado State Rams have been doing thus far. I know it's at home in Fort Collins, but I just think this number I think their three-point shooting is bound to regress. Very similar to, it was the play, actually, an under I gave out on Friday, 2 clients. It was the Manhattan Fairfield total, right, where I said, guys, regression is in the cards. And that total cashed by 20 points. So the market certainly seems to concur with what I'm saying. I mean, this total has crashed. You take a look at the Colorado State shooting, what the market's saying here. I think a lot of people believe regression's in the cards. I am one of them. Under Dartmouth, Colorado State, you could still get 152.5.
Yeah. Can we just talk about this game for a second? Like, first of all, what is Dartmouth doing out in Laramie and Fort Collins? Just they were at Wyoming over the weekend. Now they're going to stay out, play Colorado State all the way out from, I believe, Hanover, New Hampshire is where Dartmouth is. I actually thought that this number was insane, and it continues to go up. And I don't know if I don't know if anyone wants
the side that is.
The side, yeah. I don't know if anyone's trying to stomach Dartmouth plus 22, but like, are we really laying 22? Like that, I've been to Moby Arena. They get fired up for the conference games. Like that's an 8,000 seat venue, probably 3,000 or 4,000 for this game tonight. Like I don't think Dartmouth is a big draw for them out there. So like, I'm not going to give a huge. So 2 things. 1, I'm not going to give Colorado State their typical home court edge. And 2, I'm not going to give them the typical edge for altitude, since Dartmouth was just in Laramie. So they should be more than accustomed to the altitude that will be in Colorado or in Fort Collins, which of course is not as aggressive as the altitude in Laramie. So some value at 22, but Veno, that's tough. Like, I don't know if Dartmouth is any good. They could get run off the floor. It's a tough one.
Yeah, and let's just say here, Adam, that the move from Nico Medved to Minnesota, and the hire from within has not hurt this team whatsoever, right? I know you talked an awful lot about that coaching switch to start the season, thinking that it would be a positive, and for CSU, it's wound up being a real positive so far. We'll see what happens when we get into Mountain West play, but certainly their results pretty good so far.
Yeah, that's Northern Iowa NCAA tournament legend Ali Farokhmanesh. That's the head coach of Colorado State now. And by all accounts, he was one of the more sought after sort of assistants out there. I guess he was credited big time with like the offensive portion of what Medved wanted to do there, and that's the thing. Medved has a reputation of being a very good offensive coach, just like game planner, floor spacer, and from what I hear, a lot of that can be credited to Farokhmanesh. So it doesn't surprise me that Colorado is doing well offensively, but like Brian said, like it's kind of out of control at this point. Like it has to come back a little bit. Brian, what number are you seeing for your under?
152.5. That is available multiple places.
There you go. Multiple
places.
I see a couple people in the chat. I did wear the Rhode Island shirt today. That's Rhode the Ram on the shirt. And I also changed our group chat picture to the Rhode Island Ram. So you might think, well, Trigg likes Rhode Island tonight. I'll tell you what, Brian Power, they have a great IPA. That's the Rhode Ram IPA. That'd be right in your wheelhouse.
Oh.
You would have had a cut. If we ever get down to that venue together, you'd have a couple of those.
I would.
Like, wow, it's Rhode Island's got some good IPA. That's a good beer state, if you will. But as far as the basketball team, I got to be honest, like they've probably since Archie Miller has got there, like they continue to just disappoint me. Like I feel like I'm always a little bit higher on them than I should, and it's just like I don't know. They got absolutely pummeled by Providence over the weekend, which I guess isn't all that surprising, but I don't think Providence is very good either. So the fact that I think Rhode Island had a big lead in that game and then just got dusted is a little bit concerning. People asking about some injury concerns. I'll have to dig into that a little bit more, but I got to say, from a spot standpoint, I think I'd only want to have Rhode Island. This is a weird spot for McNeese State, who's going to play 2 conference games, go up to Rhode Island midweek because McNeese probably takes any sort of big game they can get. Like if Rhode Island's willing to play them, I'm sure they want that on their schedule. But Brian Power, does that spot concern you for McNeese, who has to then go play a conference game on Friday night? Weird midweek trip to Kingston, Rhode Island for McNeese State. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't love the spot. I get. Yeah, this has to be Rhode Island or pass or nothing for me. I mean, McNeese favorite. I mean, I get the Rams. Man, what do I make this? I didn't actually go this deep in the edit board for some reason. What do I make this? Am I showing any value? God, hold on.
My number
came out. Play the Jeopardy theme, somebody. McNeese.
Well, I was going to say, BP. I was surprised that my number came out where it did, which was pretty much.
I kind of have Rhode Island, right? God, or I have McNeese. McNeese gets. Oof, I have them kind of.
I had McNeese minus 1.5 here, which is like where it was before we got on the show. So like barring any line move, so now McNeese is up to 2.5.
I have them under 1. I have it like pretty close to 1 minus 1, which is where it. So McNeese is taking money here.
Rob, what do you think about Miller? Like
first, I'll talk about Archie Miller. I thought was going to be some type of rising star at one point, and it seems like his star crashed and burned because he's kind of, he's not necessarily noticeable here in Rhode Island. You have to always take a second look and see who's the coach of Rhode Island. Oh, yeah, it's Archie Miller, because he's not doing anything worth note. But I'm going to speak to what you said about this venue. I mean, as somebody from the Northeast who has been, spent a few summers in Newport, Rhode Island, and you pass this university in Kingston, that's not going to look familiar to kids from McNeese State. I mean, it's not the easiest trip in the world. However, in McNeese's corner is the fact that defense travels. And I think they could win this game defensively. Rhode Island doesn't seem to handle pressure well this year. McNeese is a pressure-type team. They're going to get their hands on balls. They're going to get deflections, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to probably keep Rhode Island to a low-scoring number here just based on defense. It's probably an under game for starters. As I say that, I'm trying to look. I might talk myself into something here with this game going under the number. I'm showing 142.5, a number that started at 144.5, and now we see dips all the way to 141.5. I can't say that I disagree. I think this looks like something in the 135 to 137 range between these two. Rhode Island, not a particularly good shooting team. The only thing that could throw that off, guys, is if McNeese is just travel weary, or just they're not going to be in awe of the venue. I don't know exactly how I want to put this, but it's a foreign place to have to go when you're from Louisiana. So for me, probably a look at the under, maybe even a look at the Rhode Island team total under, which right now sits at 69.5, 70.5. So you could play them under 70.5. Probably a pretty good play here against McNeese.
It's a big building. Like they have a hard time unless they're hosting one of the Rhode Island schools, or it's a huge A-10 game. They really have a hard time filling that. It's like an 8,500 seater, the Ryan Center, and I think they'll be lucky to have 3,000-4,000 there. They might net the probably 3,000 there tonight. So I don't think it's going to be any sort of like crazy crowd. Like I don't give them like a huge home court edge. The edge from a home road standpoint will be what you said, like just a weird sort of trip to the Northeast for McNeese. Someone in the chat asked about the health situation. I don't know of any injury for Rhode Island. Mohamed Sow has been out, but he's been out for over a month, and they've basically played the same 6 or 7 guys all season. Like no one else has missed a game. So, I mean, I have nothing there. Like as far as I know, Rhode Island will be their typical health here. Yeah, it's just going back to the Archie Miller thing, though. I think like the reason it's important is I feel like when they hired him as coach, I think there was like big time expectations. Of course, he had such a good run at Dayton, fell short at Indiana, but I think everyone expected he would return to the A10 and do what he did at Dayton. And that just has not been the case. 9-22, 12-20. Last year, he finally had a winning record, 7-11 in the A10, though. 7-3 this year, but like, does he start to finally get exposed again as he plays like the better teams? Well, Providence certainly exposed him over the weekend. McNeese is still a pretty good team. I know Bill Armstrong, McNeese coach, was pissed, took all of his starters out and just benched him. And then I think they came back and won over the weekend. So maybe you do get it. McNeese lost to Incarnate Word, and then they didn't really play great over the weekend. Maybe you do get a focused McNeese here, playing a bigger name. Interesting
business
game.
Trip.
You think this is a business trip, BP?
That's what they call it when they win.
All right, let's I am gonna get scolded if I go over the hour again. So I'm gonna throw this before I recap the parlay. Very quickly, a couple people asked about Bucknell Ryder. I'll throw a very quick thought out here. Bucknell had some injuries. Ryder is a shit show. So I would not bet this game. So that is my take on Bucknell Ryder.
The technical
find
handicap.
Something else. Yeah, like Bucknell was rumored to be without like 3 or 4 guys. I think one of them played over the weekend. They got beat by UMBC. Ryder just played 2 MAC games, probably played as good as they have all year. Do you want to are you laying one on the road with Bucknell, knowing that they might be without some guys, or are you going to take Ryder +1 at home, knowing that aside from 2 guards, they have no one else that can score? If anyone else has anything that they want to add, I mean, it's not a good basketball game.
I guess we can just go rapid fire here before we close it out, because there's a couple big games I know we didn't mention, and Villanova, Michigan. I think that I don't want to speak for these guys, but my opinion in this game is very simple. I don't want to step in front of the point in time where they are overvalued. It is not right here. I actually think the number should be a little higher. I expect Michigan to take money throughout the day. So this is not the spot where I would fade Michigan. Penn State, Indiana is another big game in the Big Ten. I kind of lean over there. Guys, I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that I will have a play up for $5 Tuesday in college hoops. You can check that out. In a couple hours, it should be up. It will be one of 2 $5 plays I have up as part of $5 Tuesday. Champions League is back this afternoon, guys. 3 p.m. Eastern. We return to the pitch. I had a terrible weekend at soccer, which is very uncharacteristic of me. So we're going to bounce back. I have a free play up on my page as well in the Champions League, but you can get my top play, my best bet of the week in the Champions League for just $5 right now, WT.buzz/BP.
Very quick 30 seconds here, guys, just to what Brian was talking about with Michigan. How about this quote from Dusty May, a confident coach? When we defend and rebound at the top of our game and when we make shots, it's simply going to determine the margin and the size of margin we win by. Dusty May, coach of Michigan. Don't bet against them. And real quick, something that I looked at just for the chat out there, I was looking to play Arkansas Little Rock team total under until I saw that it was 52.5 against West Virginia tonight. So can't possibly play a college basketball team to go under 52.5.
Garth, I'll touch on Howard A&T for you real quick. I think A&T might be without some guys tonight. I don't really hate the idea of an under there, but I did lean Howard +4.5, and looks like it's down to 1.5. That being said, not a confident handicap for me, but I do think A&T might be shorthanded in that game. All right, let's read it off. This is the 3-teamer that's hitting today. BP, I agree with you. Michigan's probably going to smash. Just forgot about that game, but we get to as many as we can. We also talked about UConn, Florida, so go check out the video. It's up on the WagerTalk YouTube channel and on all of our Twitter pages. The 3-teamer, UMBC +2.5, Columbia team total over 75.5, and Dartmouth, Colorado State under 152.5. That's your 3-teamer. Hopefully it hits. We'll be back tomorrow with more full court press at 10 a.m. Eastern. Cash all your tickets. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow.